For this video, I am going to start a series of videos on SQL and PostgreSQL. Partially this is to help sell my book, which is Learning SQL on PostgreSQL. You can see that it is there on Amazon. I will try to put a link into the description of the video. I'm not going to cover everything in the book, but I am going to cover a few things in every chapter. So here I am going to go here. I'll actually launch the show so that this is easier to see. These are the things that the first chapter does. It provides an overview of the SQL language, describes the difference between relational and NoSQL databases, explain the basic features of relational database design, list some of the main features of PostgreSQL and PGAdmin, and describe the relational databases used in the book. I'm not going to do all of those in this video. I will describe SQL very briefly, and I will talk a little bit about PostgreSQL and PGAdmin, and I will show you how to get and install and maneuver through the databases used in this book. Alright, so let's look at PostgreSQL. So SQL, first of all, is the language used for relational databases. It is used for all relational databases. It will let you get information from the database. It'll let you organize and summarize the information in the database. SQL also lets you create objects, lets you insert and update data that's in the database, and it has some real programming qualities in functions and procedures that allow you to automate certain features in the database. So Postgres, I'm going to go here and open up the PGAdmin. So Postgres is a database management system. It is fairly old. It's been around since the 1980s at least. It's older than MySQL. It's actually older, or at least as old as SQL Server. Not quite as old. Oracle is older. I like it better than MySQL because PostgreSQL is more compliant with the SQL standards. It's far more powerful than MySQL. In general, I just prefer it to MySQL. And if you look online, you'll see that most people prefer it to MySQL. As I said, it's just a much more powerful database. What you're looking at here is the PGAdmin. PGAdmin is the client, graphical client for Postgres. PostgreSQL will run on Linux, which is what I'm running it on here. It will run on Macs, and it will run on Windows. So it'll run on most anything. It's easy to install on Windows. It's pretty easy to install on a Mac. It's a little more challenging on Linux, although it's actually built into the Ubuntu. I'm not using the built-in version. I downloaded the newest version instead. Typically the one that's built into the system is a couple of versions old. Okay, so that's the Postgres. You can see this is the PGAdmin. It has a list of databases here. Now, Postgres, the only database on here is the Postgres, and that is the system database that keeps track of system data. You can see that underneath the database are all sorts of different subfolders with different elements and objects. I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but I do want to show you how to add the databases that we'll be using in the SQL examples that are going forward. So one of the things I'm going to do, there's two databases. They are available in the GitHub at github.com /spconger. Again, I'll try to put this into the description of the video. And you can find them under database schema and other scripts. And there's a community assist PostgeSQL is the one that I'll be using mostly for the examples. And there's a text certificates, which is what the book uses for all the problem sets. You might want both. All right, so what I'm going to do is go back to pgadmin. I am going to create a database. I am going to call it Community Assist. You can call it what you want. The owner should be your user or Postgres. Steve is a user that I created with super user permissions. I will show how to do that at some point later. This is all you have to do for a database, though. I'm just going to open it. Okay. So notice that there's a community assist. It has cast catalogs. We have all these different things. The main thing you would want to do is schemas and then tables. And there are no tables right now, but we're going to add that. So I'm going to go all the way up to Community Assist Database, right click on it and choose Query Tool. All right, and then I am going to go back to GitHub. I'm going to click on Community Assist SQL. I'm going to click on raw because I don't want any formatting information in there. I'm going to do a Control A to copy to select all of it, Control C to copy it, and then I'm going to go back to pgadmin and I'm going to right click and paste, and then I'm going to run it. I'm going to click the little execute refresh tool. F5 also works, and it takes it a moment. I don't know if you can see it, but it says query returned successfully. And now if I right click on tables, I'm going to do and choose refresh, you'll see that there are 14 tables there. And each of these tables has data. So if I were to do a new query window up here, I'm just going to do a second query window, Query Tool. And there's a table called Person. You can see it down here. I'm just going to do select star. And that means the star is just select anything from person, from the table person. And I will execute that, and you'll see that the data is in there. You can do the same with the database. I'm going to collapse this, and I'm going to add another database, and I'm going to call it text certificate. And on text certificate, I'm going to open a query tool. The query tools are specific to the database that you open them in, just as a warning. So running a query in the Community Assist query window will give you an error if you're trying to run a query on text certificate. So I'm going back here. I will go back and back. I will get text certificates. I will do it as raw. I will again do Control A, Control C, and we'll go back here. I'll paste, and I will run it. and that too is successful. And now if we go down to schemas and public tables, you'll see that there are 18 tables in that, and all of them have data. So just to summarize real quickly, SQL is one of the most important languages out there for programming. It is used for data. For data retrieval, for data analysis, for adding data, for manipulating data, for updating data, and for dealing with database objects. And I'll show you a bit of all of that. PostgreSQL is one of the most important of the database programs. It's free, it runs on all platforms, all operating systems, and it is very powerful. It has a great deal of features, and it tends to support the ANSI standards for SQL as well or better than any of the major database management systems. I also showed you how to create a database by right-clicking and choosing Create, giving it a name, and then we went and got the script from GitHub to copy and paste. So going forward, we will use these databases to explore SQL. I hope you will follow along, and I hope, I'm going to stop the recording.